Hello, welcome to Trojan Sports Now. I'm Jahmal Kennedy.
And I'm Rachael Wilkerson. Stick around as we bring you the latest news and scores from Troy Athletics. The big event on campus this week was National Signing Day, the day the Trojan future gets brighter and the phrase rebuild the wall gets a little more meaning added to it. This year's class for Coach Brown soared past last year's class, and the 2016 class was thought to be one of the best classes ever in Troy history. Jahmal Kennedy has the story.
Excitement to exude besides winning a football game.
Took a huge step today and continued to rebuild the wall here.
With Coach Brown going into his third season, how long and how much different was this recruiting process compared to the others?
This is a 2-year process. This isn't just something that started last week. This is a 2-year process. This is the first class that we've signed since I've been the head coach that gone through the 2-year process where I didn't feel like we were catching up and playing from behind.
A big focus for Coach Brown is home. And though 9 of the 18 recruits hail from Sweet Home, Alabama, home extends a little further as well.
We concentrate on our home areas, and that's our home state of Alabama. You can see that. This is the third class in a row that's been heavy on Alabama student athletes. Went into Georgia and Florida and Mississippi junior colleges. That's our home area. We don't get out of our area very often.
After a season in which the Trojans finished 35th overall in defensive rankings, they did give up on average 246 yards in the air, 85th in the nation in pass defense. But no worries, Coach Brown got defensive coordinator Vic Koenig some help in the secondary, signing 4 defensive backs with a little bit of juice.
I'm pretty sure Coach Vic will agree with me when I say this. Anytime you can have guys back there that can do the things that the guys we were able to get, it makes our job a whole lot easier.
One of the best things about this class, and I don't know if Coach Brown hit on it, and I didn't hear all of his stuff. A lot of these guys have great competitive character, and then we got a lot of guys that got some juice, so they're going to be really fun to coach.
Jahmal Kennedy, Trojan Sports Now.
In this class come several multi-sport athletes, including one guy that the coaching staff is really drooling over, both on offense and defense. The Trojans look to see what they have come spring practice.
The men's basketball team welcomed in one of the top teams in the Sun Belt Conference in Georgia State last weekend and fell, losing 78-72. Sarah Drake has the highlights of Troy's matchup against one of the top teams in the Sun Belt Conference.
Tough loss to a really talented team, one of the hottest teams in the league right now.
On Saturday night, Troy faced off against one of the top teams in the Sun Belt, but fell short against the Panthers of Georgia State, 78-72.
I thought the difference in the game was right there at the end of the first half. We had a stretch there when we were only down 2 or 3, 5 or 6 minute stretch where they kind of took control of the game at the end of half.
Came out a little sluggish in the first half, but we battled them in the first half. We let them go on that run late in the second half, and when you let a good team like that get a lead, it's hard to fight back. But we did a good job of, cutting back into the lead and getting it close, but we just didn't finish it in the end.
A big difference in tonight's game came not from a Troy player, but from Georgia State's DeMarcus Simmons, who scored 26 points.
We had no answer for Simons.
He didn't play for them the first time, and he made a big difference tonight. I think he came off and had like 25 points tonight. He was big for them. And
he was incredible tonight. I mean, I think he's the best freshman in the league, but tonight he played like he's the best player in the league.
In the first matchup, Troy had 80 points against Georgia State's matchup zone, but Saturday night, the Trojans only managed 72 points.
They play that matchup zone, and it's really difficult to score against. I mean, they beat people with that zone, and they just constantly change their zone defenses. And
just we didn't execute on offense like we did the first time around.
It's hard to score inside against a zone, and that's why people zone. For example, we scored at will, on Monday night, throwing the ball to the post because it's one-on-one to post. Couldn't stop us on either block, but when it's a zone, it's much more difficult.
Sarah Drake, Troy, Trojan Vision Sports.
Saturday's game was senior guard Jamie Holloman's 16th consecutive game of scoring double-digit points. He looked to continue his streak last Monday night against the top team in the Sun Belt Conference.
That's right, Jahmal, and that team happened to be Georgia Southern, who going into Monday night had the best record in the Sun Belt, sitting alone at the top of the standings. However, a trip to the Trojan Arena put a little tarnish on that record thanks to a loss handed to them by the Trojans. Jalen Bivens has the highlights.
The basketball team hosted the Georgia Southern Eagles Monday night. The Trojans came out with the win with a score of 83-76. Wesley Person scored 19 points, and Devon Walker also contributed with 15 points. However, Georgia Southern's full-court press gave the Trojans a bit of trouble.
They went to the full-court press, and they went back to something they were doing last year, was switching everything. That kind of threw us off. We didn't really prepare much for that, but we knew, they do that some. But it threw us off a little bit, but we were able to, start getting to the basket, get to the free throw line, helping the offense out.
The Trojans had a 20-point lead in the second half, and Georgia Southern cut the lead down to 1.
The guys, they were hitting some deep shots on us, driving the ball, get to the free throw line. And we weren't able to get anything on the offense, and they cut back into our lead big time, cut it down to maybe like 2 or 4 points or something like that. But we were able to, withstand it and finish the game out.
Devon Walker seemed to enjoy the physicality of playing in the paint against Georgia Southern's bigs.
It was fun, man. It was a physical game, and that's something that I thrive off of. Kind of grew up playing that way with older guys, so it was fun down there. Just fighting every possession for the team, man.
This isn't the first time the Eagles have been down by 16 or more points this season. Coach Cunningham stayed up to watch Georgia Southern come back and beat Louisiana Monroe.
Ironically, I stayed up last night after practice, and I wanted to see how Monroe got 16 ahead of them a couple of weeks ago, and I watched that game, and it's amazing. Within about a 5-minute span within that game in the second half, when they took that 16-point lead, they came all the way back and took the lead on Monroe in about 5 minutes of game time.
Jalen Bivens, Trojan Sports Now.
Senior guard Jeremy Holloman's streak of 16 consecutive double-digit scoring games came to an end Monday night, but hey, at least the Trojans got the win.
And the men's basketball team didn't have all the fun last weekend. Chandler Rigby's women's basketball team played last Saturday and entered having won their last 4 home games. However, it wasn't much fun as that came to an end as they hosted the Georgia State Panthers. It was a long day in Trojan Arena Saturday for Chandler Rigby's Trojan team as they fell in a close game to Georgia State 68-65. One of the keys to success for Georgia State lied in the Trojans' inability to make shots.
We are in a shooting slump right now. Anybody that's at the game can see that. We're not shooting the ball well, so therefore people are running back in the paint in a zone defense. And even when we got the ball close to goal, we were still missing those shots. At one of the media timeouts, I looked at the score sheet, and we were shooting 17%. We were shooting a lot of shots, but we weren't making many.
The Trojans are far from giving up, however, despite the slump they're in. They're still hoping improving in other aspects of their game.
We're going to keep getting better on the things that should give us insurance to win, like our defense and our rebounding, and keep shooting and keep our confidence that we'll come out and shoot the ball like Trojans shoot the ball sooner or later.
And for one Trojan senior, the 10-point deficit at halftime was new territory. But the message was simple.
We just kept telling each other one possession at a time. We had to stop and score. That's something that we do in practice all the time. We have to get a stop, turn around, and make something out of it. We just got to be positive and keep our heads up, and, we just got to keep pushing through.
And Georgia State came out tonight and played with intensity, attacking the basket and knocking down shots. And I asked Coach Rigby if she thought that fear was something that she saw in the eyes of the Panthers.
No fear out there. They had a great game plan. I mean, they picked up on the fact that we have not been shooting the ball well, and we've been struggling against the zone. And they came out and played the exact zone that we've been struggling against. Whereas we expect them to play, when they go to zone, they usually go to a 1-2-2. They went to the 2-3, and they were sprinting back and just they were going to see if we were going to miss some shots again tonight, and we did.
Despite our rough shooting game, senior Caitlin Ramirez still managed to score 18 points to lead all Trojans.
Trojan fans will be singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" once again at Riddle Pace Field as the baseball team held their first practice of the season last Friday. Following a season in which the Trojans had a record of 32 wins and 26 losses, the team enters its second season under the direction of head coach Mark Smart. The team returns its hottest hitter, Joey Dennison, who hit for a .322 average with 7 homers and a team-high 37 RBIs. Coach Smart is also making a change to his pitching staff this year. Junior Corey Childress is returning to the rotation as the Friday night starter after a season in which the junior set the Troy single-season saves record with 10. Coach Smart on what he learned from his first year as the head honcho for the Trojans.
Through my first year, I learned an awful lot as to how to handle my own situation, hopefully handle the ball club better. I've got a great coaching staff. I've got an older, experienced team. I'll be a better head coach here, too.
Trojan players were excited about speaking on their first opponent of the season. that will take the form of Xavier on February 17th at Riddle Pace Field.
And speaking of schedules, with the season's opening day vastly approaching, there's hardly any time to relax. The Trojans will face a tough slate this season, headlined with the defending national champions in Coastal Carolina. Here's what some of the players think about the challenging schedule coming up.
It's a great opportunity. It's just another way that we can get better and compete.
It's exciting, man. We always want to look to play the best teams and see how good we can match up against them, and everybody's pretty excited and we're all confident.
I love the schedule. Xavier, we've never played. They were in a regional final in Nashville last year. They returned 7 starters and 3 of their best pitchers. We got a great tournament in Pensacola leading into conference play, and then we got a 30-game brutal stretch in the Sun Belt. And then, oh, by the way, we got Alabama, Auburn, Samford, UAB, Jacksonville State along the way. So it's a great schedule.
No matter who the competition, teams will still have to face Troy's Joey Dennison, who led the Trojans in average, home runs, and RBIs, just to note, last season.
The Troy soccer team has found a new head coach to replace Jason Hamilton. His name is Jed O'Connor. Previously, O'Connor spent 11 seasons at St. Leo University, where he compiled a record of 123 wins, 66 losses, and 12 ties. He also led the Division II school to 7 Division II tournament appearances. This season, he led the Lions to a first-place finish with a 13-4-1 record. O'Connor replaces Jason Hamilton, who spent the previous 3 seasons as Troy's head coach. Leaving behind a 37-20-5 record, as well as the program's first ever Sun Belt Conference Championship game appearance. Hamilton is joining up with an old mentor at Mississippi State.
And Football Americano wasn't the only signing day event going on in Trojan territory, but football, or soccer as we lovingly call it, held a signing day event yesterday as well and signed 5 new Trojans aboard the Jed O'Connor ship. 2 defenders, 2 midfielders, and a forward fill out the class for O'Connor, all positions I couldn't name on the field, but I know it when I see it on PlayStation and FIFA. The girls themselves, Carly Barker from Rome, Georgia, making the move from Austin, Texas to Troy's Allie Bayer, Maria Kashchalk of Macomb, Michigan, KK Palchik from Pompano Beach, Florida, and from Round Rock, Texas, Karina Valeriano.
Serves up on the courts this past weekend for the women's tennis team, and it was not a good one. The team dropped both their matches on Saturday and Sunday, the first against the defending Big South Conference champs in Winthrop. Then on Sunday, the Trojans dropped their matchup with Furman 7-zip. The 1 wins the Trojans enjoyed on the day came from the doubles pairings of Nancy Caracay and Alicia Rodriguez. The pair won their doubles matchup over Katie Weymouth and Katerina Kozarov 6-1. 3 of the singles matches came down to 3 sets, including Hannah Caesar's 6-0, 2-6, and a 1-0 defeat.
The golf team is gearing up for a new season and ready to repeat past success. The team began practice last Friday in less than stellar conditions, but the Trojans are pushing through and getting ready for their first event taking place in Florida. The Trojans will be returning to the fairway after taking the Sun Belt Championship last year. Head coach Matt Terry gives more on the team's first practice.
They look fresh, look ready to go. Don't know how good we're playing yet. We played a little bit this weekend, and it was just so-so, but of course the weather was cold and windy, and you don't know how much either one of those things, but we got plenty of time. We leave the 16th of February for our first event, the Gator, and don't play till the 18th. So, they just got to get lost in the day-to-day, mundane stuff that they need to be doing to get prepared to play.
As you just heard, Troy will tee off for the first time this year at the Gator Invitational, February 18th.
The Trojans track and field team is currently resting after a tough weekend at the KMS Invitational at the Birmingham Crossplex. Troy dominated the events as sophomore Caleb Brown took 3rd place in the weight throw competition with a 15.93 meter toss. Troy freshmen shone as well. Alexis Garrett finished 10th in the 60-meter hurdles and finished 8th in the high jump. Both were personal bests. Sophomore Daniel Glick took 7th in the mile run, while sophomore John Webb took 10th in the 800-meter dash. The Trojans will be back in action this weekend, and people will be keeping their eyes on the sprinter Hakeem Montgomery, who is flying through the track. Director Mark Davis explains.
This week he ran really fast. I mean, he broke a lot of barriers. Right now he's number 2 in the country, tied for number 2 in the country with a guy from South actually, and he's tied for 4th in the world. So in the 60 meters indoors. So I mean, he's doing some big things, and we're hoping that continues, gets faster. I mean, I can't see why it wouldn't.
Montgomery's 60-meter dash comes in at 6.59 seconds, which, as Davis noted, is tied for 2nd in the nation.
Question, who's faster, Hakeem Montgomery or Eminem rapping his verses on Rap God. I'll wait, but I can assure you that one is fast enough to be the Sunbelt Conference Track Athlete of the Week, and it ain't Slim Shady. So will the real Hakeem Montgomery please stand up? Coach Mark Davis, just how good can this young man be?
I think the goal for him is obviously getting to the national championships in Oregon and being able to do well there. I mean, he's got a good shot at placing in the top 3, and that's what we're looking to do at this point.
I'd ask Hakeem what it's like being the 4th fastest 60-meter man in the world, but before I could even get the question out, he'd already run past me.
Still to come on Trojan Sports Now, we'll have a preview of the Trojan men's basketball team's matchup against South Alabama.
But first, I sat down with the new Troy soccer head coach, Jed O'Connor. Stick around for more Trojan Sports Now.